Hello, welcome back to my Outlining Your Memoir video series. This is the last one. This is video number 5. So if you haven't watched the previous 4 videos for the other 4 steps that you need to take, make sure you go back and watch these. I'll link to them in the video somehow, somewhere. Okay, so this 5th step is, I kind of saved the best till last, and they all work together. You can also use this when you're revising your manuscript and getting ready for publication. So this one's the trickiest one, so I saved this one till last. Just in case this is the first time you've seen me, my name is Louisa Deasy. I'm an author, I'm a writing coach, writing teacher, and I specialize in memoir. It's my favorite genre. Both my published books were memoirs. I've been writing personal essays, nonfiction for over 20 years, and I also worked as a freelance editor. Okay, so that's me. This 5th step is the most important step in both validating your story idea, providing the entry point, so where you're going to start the story and what you're going to focus on, and it also works with, each of these steps works in conjunction with the other. That's why I call it the Map Your Memoir model, and I have this circle, because you can't take one of these out and still have a compelling memoir. Okay, so this 5th step is you need to identify your story hook. Now, what is a story hook? A story hook is what differentiates your story, your personal story, from thousands of other personal stories on the same topic or theme. So for example, there's a really great memoir called Tell Me Everything I Don't Remember. Oh gosh, and now the author's name's just disappeared. I'll link to it in the comment, below the video though. Her story has so many compelling hooks. It's basically about a stroke that changed her life. Now, there's many memoirs about health challenges or crises such as a stroke. There's probably even thousands of memoirs about written by people who have gone through a stroke. But she was so good at identifying her story hook, i.e. what differentiated her story, what was so unusual, compelling, unique, that she wrote an essay which then led to the book deal for that memoir. And her hook was all about how she had a stroke and she didn't even realize. So she hosted a party the same night as her stroke, and she was only 30. So she had multiple hooks with that story. And this is something that I really noticed when I was working as an editor. If someone pitched me a story and they couldn't compel me, if they clearly didn't know the hook, I was less confident in commissioning them to write the story. Because the hook is really the most compelling. The hook is what keeps the reader reading. And particularly with memoir, which is, it's a personal story, and unless you're a celebrity, unless you're famous, no one's going to, sort of sit up and take notice of what is so unusual, who you are, unless you have a clearly articulated hook. And this is how you're going to enter the story. It's where you're going to start the story, and you can also use it, like I mentioned with that particular author of Tell Me Everything I Don't Remember. You will also use your hook to identify outlets for essays and articles that you might write before publication, or even to get a book deal or an agent. So you need to identify your story hook. I know that this is really difficult to do on your own. Sometimes it takes a few conversations, and that's the main reason that I'm holding the Map Your Memoir live workshop next week. I want to be able to give you feedback on your hook. So if you haven't already booked, make sure you check that out. I'll link to the Map Your Memoir workshop below. But just to sum up, these are the 5 things that you need to include in your memoir outline. If you want to write a compelling story, if you want to make sure that you have a clearly validated story idea and an audience, you need to have your universal themes identified. You need to write your basic premise, or your focus sentence, I like to call it. You need to identify your 2 desires. You need to do even just a bullet point outline of how you're going to use the 3-act story structure. And last but most importantly is you need to identify your story hook. So these are the 5 steps that I use to outline a memoir and also to revise it. It's going to make sure that you don't write tens of thousands of words that you'll need to chop. It's going to ensure that you start the story in the right spot, include the right things in the middle, and finish strong. And it's also going to make the writing process so much more smooth and so much more creative. The funny thing is that when you have this outline, you're free to create with that sort of confidence and freedom that comes from a clearly articulated and mapped memoir that's going to be compelling. Okay, so I hope this has been a helpful series of videos for you. If you haven't seen the other ones, make sure you check them out so you get these 5 steps to map your memoir outline. Okay, I'll see you soon.